Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Marketing Spotlight. I am so excited that you are here. Today's guest is the fabulous David Schreiner-Kahn. We actually got connected through a mutual connection who I think is also in marketing. So we've had a few different conversations already, and I have had the honor of being a guest at his community. It was great. It was a lot of fun. We got to talking about podcasting, of course, and we were like, we should be on each other's podcasts. So I was on his podcast, and now he's here on my podcast, and I am thrilled to have him. Thank you so much, David. Tell the people who you are and a little bit about what you do.
Thank you for inviting me, Allison. Yeah, it's great that we've connected and gotten to know each other a bit. So I am the founder and guide of the Smashing the Plateau community. And Smashing the Plateau is more than just a community. We are a a resource for corporate refugees who are starting, running, and growing their own business so they can do more of what they love and get paid what they're worth. We have, as you mentioned, our podcast. We have a weekday newsletter, and we also have a membership community.
Awesome. So, how did you get started helping entrepreneurs make that transition? Because it is a tough transition, as someone who made that transition myself. It is one of those things that sounds easy. Oh, yeah, well, I'm already doing this, so I'll just leave my corporate job and other people will pay me directly to do this. And then you find out that there's a whole lot else going on when you're running your own business, and it is kind of a shock. So, what was your, do you have your own corporate to entrepreneur story, or was it something else entirely that led you here?
I am a corporate refugee, so it is my story. And yes, it is a tough transition. One of the things that I discovered when I made the transition from employee to entrepreneur in 2006 is I came out of roles where I was the leader in finance and operations. So I had particularly strong skills when it came to processes and operations and the actual running of the business, which is something that many professionals don't have when they go from employee to entrepreneur. They're
Mhm.
typically steeped in their in a discipline that is about delivering results to clients,
Mhm.
not about the actual running of the business. I was actually good at the running of the business, but I discovered that there were aspects of running a business that I wasn't so good at. So, for
Mhm.
example, I had never had any responsibility for marketing and sales.
Mhm.
And obviously, if you're an entrepreneur, if you don't market and sell, you at best have a hobby. You don't have a business. So
Mhm.
that was one of the
Yeah.
things that I learned that I needed. I knew that I needed to learn how to do. Um, and over the course of the years that I've had my business, I wasn't initially specifically targeting corporate refugees as my audience, but what I discovered was people like me were asking me for help. And so that ended up over time becoming the main thing that we specialized in.
Awesome. So, how did you find those people, or how did they find you when you started seeing these same people asking these same questions and asking for help over and over again? Were you seeking them out? Were they seeking you out? Was it just a happy coincidence that you happened to be in the same room? How did that happen?
They sought me out, and yes, it was because there was a happy coincidence that we were in the same room. So, I was trained as an engineer, worked in corporate as an engineer for the first few years of my career. I made a transition into the nonprofit space, and was a nonprofit executive for over 2 decades. And when I started my business, the main reason I started it was I wanted more control over my career.
Hmm.
So I thought by being an entrepreneur, I could do that. And since I had all this experience running nonprofit organizations, I thought, okay, I could be a consultant, nonprofit management consultant. And that was what I was marketing initially. And that was all of my business initially. I started doing some business networking. And the first thing that happened was I joined BNI, which is a pretty widely known networking organization that has its own
Business
pro.
Networking International, I think is what it
Exactly.
stands
Yeah.
for. Yeah.
It's worldwide. It has its own formula, works pretty well for word of mouth marketing.
Hmm.
And first thing that happened was I had joined a local chapter, and the after a few months, the group asked me to join the leadership team, and I was kind of surprised because I was kind of new to the networking world, but I stepped up. I joined the leadership team, and then a few months after that, one of the members of the chapter who had a small business asked me for help in running his in trying to expand his business. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I know how to run nonprofits, but I've, never done this for a small business.
Hmm.
And honestly, business is business. It's not that different. The main
Yeah.
difference is as a privately held business, you pay taxes. As a nonprofit, you're tax exempt. But everything else that you have to do, um, there's a lot of similarity. Anyway, that was the first one. There were others. And then over time, more and more of those people that were asking for my help had solopreneur businesses, and they were individuals like me that had a corporate career and then made a transition. Um, I developed a framework that's kind of the backbone of what we do today in the Smashing the Plateau community of how you start with kind of the big picture of identifying what's important to you, have your own vision, your own set of goals, and my definition of goals is something that is specific enough so you know that you're working toward them, but they're not metric driven. So there's always more to do. They're like, very audacious,
Hmm.
um, future oriented. And that is kind of the driving force of everything that you do in your business and in life. And from there, it kind of works down to, okay, so what do you need to do every single year, every quarter, every month, every week, every day that is
Hmm.
actually going to drive the kind of success you want? And one of the things that I have seen in business, and I've heard this over and over again from my podcast guests, I've seen this in the work that I've done with our members and clients, is running a bit. The day-to-day operations of a business are not that sexy and generally not that appealing to most people. And what other people see as a breakthrough is what you have achieved after hundreds or thousands of tiny steps and pivots. So
Yeah.
what sets apart those that are successful at those thousands of steps and pivots from those that are not? And it's again not sexy, but it's consistency, discipline, and perseverance.
Hmm.
And you got to find more of what works and less of what doesn't work, and just over time keep kind of wash, rinse, and repeat.
Hmm.
That's really the formula for success in business. And it's kind of the heart of what we do in our community. We have the framework and we have this formula. And particularly as an entrepreneur, it's a very lonely position to have. Whether you're the CEO of a solopreneur business or you're the CEO of a global enterprise organization, you're the only one with the roles and responsibilities that you have. And so
Hmm.
you need to connect with thinking partners where you can help one another around the challenges that you're going to face every single day. And we all have challenges, no matter how long we've been in business, no matter how long we've been alive. There are always new things that come up and new ways to try to achieve what you're achieving, and new roadblocks come up. So how do you get through these? One of the best ways to do it is by connecting with thinking partners on a regular basis. And that
Hmm.
is kind of the heart of our formula. And again, it's not something that's particularly sexy, but
Hmm.
it's what I believe really sets apart people who are successful in
Hmm.
business and in life from those that are not.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I've evolved in trying to help this particular audience. I'm very passionate about the audience because again, it's my story, and I see how much impact people can make when they're able to be successful at what they want to do.
Yeah. Well, and I know yours is not the only story. I mean, there are so many, I'm sure, again, people to this probably are going, nodding along, thinking, yes, they either are and or they know a bunch of people who are corporate refugees, like you said, who had enough and left on their own, and then went, wait a minute. So yeah, there are a lot of us out there. And I do want to, I know we want to focus on community. I will come back to it, but something you said earlier about you were trying to target the nonprofits and the business owners and solopreneurs kept coming up to you and asking for help. And that's something that I have also found a lot, whether it's people in marketing or coaches. It's like either they target one and they end up attracting the other. And I'm wondering if it's because there are so many similarities between nonprofits and solopreneurs, even if we don't recognize it. Is that something that you've seen? Do you see a lot of similarities in the way solopreneurs and nonprofits are running or not running their business?
I see actually parallels in pretty much any business. Um, a- and I would say, I don't know that, yeah, I don't know that this is necessarily specific to the nonprofit sector. Um, but for people that are passionate about making an impact in the audience that they want to serve, um, I would say that's the commonality. And I can't think of a single member of our community who doesn't fit that profile.
Yeah.
Because yes, there are people in business that all they're thinking about is the bottom line and how do
Hmm.
I make
Yeah.
money as much as possible so I can do as little work as possible to support my desired lifestyle. And I would say for the people that I spend my time with, um, they're people that um, feel very strongly about making an impact in a certain sector.
Hmm.
And yes, they need to make money and they want to make money so they can support their desired lifestyle, but they have a greater purpose in addition
Hmm.
to that. So it's not just financially driven. There are other motivations.
Do you find that those are the people who are most drawn to your community? Are that people who are very, who have that purpose?
Yes, yes, I do.
Awesome. Yeah, and I love we are going to talk about community because that is how I also started growing my business was when I got out and started networking. Yes, I'm a marketer. Yes, I have people find me online and end up hiring me that way, and that is very intentional. But there are people, I think most of my business comes from networking. And I think what surprised me the most about networking is not just that it was a great way to get clients, but it was also a great way to, like you said, build that community, connect with other entrepreneurs. I actually just I went and saw a movie not too long ago with a friend of mine that I met through networking because we're both entrepreneurs. And she was talking about something new that she wants to do, and it was something that I also want to do. I was really excited for her, and she was, I think, kind of surprised that I was excited for her because I think most of the other people in her life are like, you're doing what now? Why would you do that? Yeah, that's never going to work. And I, as an entrepreneur who's going through a lot of the same stuff, was like, yeah, no, that's a great idea. I've been thinking about doing something similar too. And there's something so powerful in that camaraderie of someone who understands what you're talking about and it will help you move forward. So I don't know if you want to speak to that specifically or just community in general, but I know for myself it's been so powerful. Like I said, not just to grow my business, but just to have friends who get what I'm going through that my other friends don't understand on that same level.
Yeah, you actually have hit on something that's really critical, Allison, which is you have to find your people. And
Hmm.
one of the things that I hear from from people in our community is they um, they want to be with like-minded people. They want to connect with like-minded people, and that's really powerful. So, what does it
Hmm.
mean, people who are like-minded? So, if you're an entrepreneur, it means connecting with other entrepreneurs. If you are a uh, professional in corporate, it means connecting with other professionals who who are spending time in similar kinds of environments because
Hmm.
it's your experience in those environments when you have faced a challenge that somebody else may be facing, you can share your experience and it can be helpful to them. Just
Hmm.
like the power of having a podcast like yours or like mine, where we're having these conversations about our shared experiences, people that listen can go, "Oh yeah, I'm not the only one.
Hmm.
Allison has faced this, David has faced this," and
Hmm.
it can give them some ideas of what they might be able to do to overcome a challenge they're working through right now.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something I've heard podcasting too. I've heard some people talk about, and honestly, this podcast is just an excuse for me to get together with like-minded entrepreneurs and marketers and geek out about it. And I've heard other podcasters say the same thing. They use it more as a networking tool rather than as a marketing tool, which does not mean that it's not also a marketing tool. The two are not mutually exclusive, but yeah, get together and have conversations with people. So you talk about finding your people, which is great. And obviously, I agree with the importance of that. Do you have any tips or resources for finding your people? Because it's one of those things that sounds great, but it's a lot easier said than done. And there are a million and one networking groups out there in different communities serving entrepreneurs and business people. So, what are your tips, A, for individuals trying to find those people, but also for those communities who are trying to attract their ideal members?
Well, for one thing, you can use your existing relationships to find new relationships. So ask the people you already know.
Mhm.
Or you can, if there's somebody who you don't know, but appears to be in the kind of space that you want to be in, you can see where they spend their time.
Mhm.
For example, I'm a big believer in looking at models of how other people have achieved something that I might want to achieve.
Mhm.
So for example, if I'm thinking about making a change to our website, I might look at other websites that I think um, speak to a similar audience and like, oh, what are they doing that we're not doing? Or, um, in the community space, I look at other communities as models. What are they doing that we're not doing?
Mhm.
And right, as technology changes, as people's behavior with regard to communities change, I look to other models as examples of things we might want to try.
Mhm.
So if you see someone who is appears to be doing something that you are trying to achieve, you could reach out to them, or maybe you can just by observation see where they spend their time.
Mhm.
If you look at somebody's profile on LinkedIn, there may be some hints as to where they're spending time or the kinds of communities that they connect with. They may mention some of these things in their posts. So you can look for clues beyond people that you don't already know. And the other thing is try it. Um, for example, one of the things we do in our community is we offer somebody who's interested an opportunity to come visit a live session so you can just see who's in the community, see the kinds of things we talk about, see if it's of interest to you, because it's very hard to tell unless you actually try something.
Mhm. Yeah. Awesome. You mentioned something about people, the way people interact with communities has changed. Can you speak a little more to that? What are those changes that you're seeing and how are you adjusting for it?
Well, one big change is technology.
Yeah.
So, right. So if you went back 20 years ago, um, if, there was very little interaction in the online space when it came to community.
Yeah.
Things were either they were done in person or not at all.
Hmm.
Or you could maybe do them with some kind of digital text-based communication, like email, but the kind of group and community tools for communicating and getting together just didn't exist. So that's a big example. Um, and I think there are um, different kinds of communities that may crop up over time.
Hmm.
So entrepreneurship. in the US, if you go back a generation or two, wasn't something that was um, promoted as much as part of our culture as it is today.
Yeah.
I think particularly um, for folks that are college educated,
Hmm.
I think the ideal was you'd go into the corporate environment and be part of a big organization for your career. And
Hmm.
particularly like when I graduated college, the expectation was you'd go to work um, for probably for a large company. And
Hmm.
if it was a big enough company, there would be enough opportunity you could stay in one company for your entire career.
Hmm.
That doesn't really exist today. I
Mm-mm.
mean,
Not at
there
all.
are a few people that do it, but it's pretty few. So that, that's a major difference.
Hmm.
And colleges and universities 30, 40, 50 years ago didn't teach entrepreneurship, and
Yeah.
today they do.
Awesome. This has been great. We are running out of time, so I will let you go. But before I do, first of all, thank you so much for coming on and having this great conversation. This was awesome. And second of all, please tell the good people more about where they can find you, because I'm sure, I know I could talk about this all day. I'm sure you could talk about this all day. So if they want to have more of this conversation with you, where can they find you?
Best place to go is smashingtheplateau.com. That's where you can see information about our community. You can subscribe to our newsletter, access our podcasts. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. And if you would like to get in touch and have a conversation, we have a contact form on our website.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I, of course, you can find me over on my website, AV, as in my initials, Allison Verhalen. That is avwritingservices.com. You can reach me directly at info@avwritingservices.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, is where I spend most of my time, as well as YouTube. So that is it. Thank you so much, David. And thank you to all of you watching and listening. We will see you next time.